Welcome back to me on the stage. Hello, everyone. So it's time for our live Q&A. We've been receiving questions on the online watch page, and some of them have already been answered. So if you guys later, people in person here, you can always go back online and see the archive Q&A, see what people have been asking, and having our folks in the back. I see Christian, other people back there answering those questions. But we also have time for live Q&A here. There is the virtual questions we're going to be taking in throughout this entire time. So if you're watching online, please put your questions in the Q&A below this video. And if you're here in person, feel free to come up to the mics here in the room. If you don't want to come up in the mics in the room, you can raise your hand and we'll get you a mic. We'll bring the mic to you. But ideally, if you're able to come up to the front of the room, then we can put the camera on you. And you can ask your question. All right? So we have some chairs up here, and at this time, I'd love to invite all of the speakers from today's product talks to come on stage and take a seat. Yeah. Awesome. So we have one newcomer to the stage who you haven't met yet. That's Steve. Steve, you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Steve. Is this live?
It might not be turned on.
There we go.
Hi, everybody. That was live. Hi, Steve.
I'm Steve Greenberg. I joined the team in May of this year to lead developer relations. And before that, I led developer relations for Google Cloud Platform's AI division. So it's great to be here and meet all of you.
Yeah, so this is his first Geo for Good Summit. So you guys have to find him in the hallway and tell him your experience on this event and past events. Okay, great. So I have a doc here with a couple of questions on it. So I'm going to start with a question from the virtual audience. But if you guys have questions in the room, it can be about anything. It can be about our products. It can be about projects you heard Rebecca talk about. It could be, anything that is on your mind coming into
Which way is east?
Which way is east? Do you know? Oh, I see arrows in every direction. Okay. Oh, yeah, okay, very good. Okay, great. So the first two questions, or the first question I'm going to talk here is going to be from our virtual audience, from Richard Fernandez. And the question is, the update of new data sets is great. In some instances, such as Sentinel-2, the data seems to be reformatted. Is the Earth Engine team involved with the Committee of Earth Observing Systems Working Group on analysis-ready data to promote consistency for Earth Engine and non-Earth Engine applications? And so I think that, Steve, you might have some info.
I'll take the first question here. Yeah, so this is a great question, and it's a two-part question. The first piece around Sentinel-2 is an ask around whether there's any reformulation. The only reformulation we do is to harmonize the data to make multi-year analysis easier. Otherwise, anything that this person is seeing is unintentional, and we'd encourage you to come and talk to us after the break, or if you're virtual, send an email, and we will follow up on it. The second part is sort of participation in standards bodies. We actually are participating in some standards bodies and always looking to engage more actively with the community. This particular group was not one that we knew about, but again, happy to follow up. And I also just want to give credit. Those of you in the community know that Simon F. has done an amazing job as our main data person for quite a long time. And I chatted with Simon to get all that information before answering it. So it's great. I just want to acknowledge that he did a great job with that.
Yeah, he's here today. So if you have any more questions about that, Simon could also meet. Awesome. Any questions from the audience here? I'm not afraid of awkward silences.
You all know where the microphones are, right? You can see them. They're here.
Any question will do.
Okay.
All right. Well, while you guys are thinking, oh, here comes someone. Jorge. All right. Brave first soul.
No pressure.
Sure. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Jorge Homa, Conservation International and Wildlife Insights. So this is a question for the city's managing platform. I mean, the problem you're trying to solve is, sits at the heart of conservation in terms of figuring out how do you take data, scientific data, summarize it, package it, and give it to decision makers so they may do something about it, right? Have you guys thought about integrating this with the storytelling capabilities, the platform that you have, So you can make that into a story and try to increase the likelihood that those people would do something.
Yeah, I think it's a great point and something we've thought about but haven't done yet. And I think there's a couple pieces there. One is where we've been focused is on the planning piece, right? The crunching of the data to end up with a 30% by 2030 and a distinct set of projects that will hopefully achieve that 30%. But what we do know is within that planning process, there are a number of stakeholders around the table that have to approve the process and would benefit from storytelling and understanding, wait, 30%, I don't know what that means, and I need my parking on my street. So I think storytelling is a really critical piece of that. But there's also consultants, and there's businesses, and there's all sorts of different players, and we're really having to map out what that ecosystem looks like. And I think the other piece is storytelling is super important, but it kind of comes back to how do you raise awareness that the story exists? And I think that's the key piece that I think we need to do a lot more work, right? Just producing a story, you have to give it to for us, what we've learned is you have to give it to the city and they have to give it to citizens. But for a lot of cities that I've heard from, they say, well, the only people that are coming to the city website are complaining about potholes, paying their parking tickets, need their trash picked up. They're not looking for a story on climate and understanding. So there's other mechanisms that we have to take those stories and bring it out to the people that make a difference, that will vote, to be honest, and really put those plans in action. So I think it's a really fruitful avenue, but there's a lot of work there for us to figure that out.
Thanks.
Hey, would you mind jumping down? I've offered if people aren't able.
Can I actually jump?
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a hand. Ooh, it's louder down here.
Another one.
So first this one, and then we'll go to Michelle. Yeah. There you go. She first. Go ahead.
Okay. I'm first, thank you. My name is Yifan Ban. I'm from KTH, Royal Institute of Technology in Stockholm, Sweden. I have a question regarding data availability on Google's engine. We're developing near real-time wildfire monitoring. I noticed Modis, Wears, and Sana 1.2 and the other data, they don't come at near real time on Google's engine. It's a few days of delay. Do you plan to make the data available? Right now, we're uploading our own data. It takes so much time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a great question. Maybe I'll start by saying that our data ingestion team has worked to speed up ingestion generally over the past year. So, it's a request that people ask us for a lot, and our team has tried to work on it. I'm happy to talk more about the specific data sets that you're interested. And we also do have a data set request form online, which you can find in our developer documentation if you're asking about a specific data set that we don't have.
Yeah, and there's also a little poster board at the end of the hall here where you can put data set requests. Anything to add from the crew?
Maybe just two quick points, building on both of those good points. So on the Modis and Veers front in particular, I know it's common for, in the wildfire monitoring use cases, to use the near real-time versions of those data products. They're actually produced by entirely different teams. And right now what we're ingesting into the data catalog are not those data products. It's the data products that are produced a few days later when they have the complete ephemeris and they can really produce the archival grade data product. So please do, if you are interested in seeing specific near real-time versions of these data products be ingested, please do request those. We have been investing more in making the ingestion process for all of our data sets be near real time relative to the availability of the data. So in that case, part of the problem is that the data we're using isn't available until some days later. We have been, for example, bringing on GOES data from geostationary satellites where that's the situation where minutes matter. And so we have now that capability. So we can put these pieces together. And please do let us know what will be most useful.
Great. Michelle. Yeah, awesome. Michelle.
Okay, so I'm Michelle. I teach a lot of Earth observation classes at the undergrad and grad level. And I always sit and watch these product launches, and I'm like, yay, but also feel a little bit of an existential crisis in the sense that, like, I'm teaching the, like, JavaScript platform to students, and is like, is that preparing them for where you see Earth Engine heading next? Like, or like, what would be the things to inform them about?
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. Thanks so much for your question, and thank you for continually teaching Earth Engine. It's really exciting to have so many folks like yourself here in the audience. We certainly are continuing to invest in the JavaScript API and the code editor. I'll also give a shout out to the Python API, which is what I think is maybe one of the more underrated parts of the platform. That is, obviously upcoming in data science and kind of where a lot of the future is going. So yeah, investing in both across the board.
Thank you.
Maybe just add a little more to that as well, if I may, because this is a question that we've thought about over the years. Is we have these two languages. Is that one too many? But the reality is that they each are anchored to incredibly valuable ecosystems doing different things. So the entire Earth Engine apps ecosystem, for example, where you can build user interfaces easily that are powered by your data science, that's taking full advantage of running in JavaScript on the web. And then the Python environment integrates, of course, with all of the classical Python data science tools and new machine learning tools. So I don't think we see either of them going anywhere anytime soon.
David Saw, University of San Francisco, and SIG. This is a less technical question. It's more about very happy that there's an SLA. That's very exciting. But a lot of the partnerships that we've been building, like with Severe and with FAO and those sorts of things, are built off of trying to figure out how to take the technology and the information, get into these operational settings with these governments that typically don't have a lot of resources. And as things shift, the way that you're positioning Earth Engine with your environment, and you mentioned this earlier about having the ability to ensure that that access point stays open and accessible. Just want to hear some more thoughts of what we could tell the folks that we're working with, the direction that you're going on that. I don't know if that was clear.
Yeah, I'm happy to kind of take a quick shot at that. I mean, as you've seen, we're kind of continuing to invest in both our connections with Google Cloud as well as these programs for non-commercial users to help continue to clarify our commitment there, as well as sort of foundational engineering capabilities that help across all sets of users. So I think we're all comfortable kind of in our commitment to our various groups of users across the board. If you're asking about sort of specific groups of like, will this specific group continue to have Earth Engine access at no cost? One great resource is that non-commercial website that I pointed to, where we kind of outlined like, here's what a nonprofit is, news media, trainer, trainee, government research, et cetera, in a bunch of detail, because we imagine that many of you have those specific questions as well. And in terms of your specific question about kind of NGOs interfacing with operational governments, that's something we are definitely interested in, making sure that we have support for, and Karen has been working on that one in particular.
So if we have questions, we direct them to Karen.
You can write to Karen.
I could add one point, which is, David, I know you work in some, parts of the developing world. And so as we were putting the non-commercial terms together, we made an explicit commitment that you'll see on the site that all least developed countries, LDCs, as defined by the United Nations, get Earth Engine for free. And I think that's almost 50 countries. So you should, yeah.
Wonderful. And can I ask one more quick question? What's going on with ground?
Well,
and then I'll run.
Gino his wife just had a baby, so he's not here, unfortunately. Does anyone want to take that?
Sure. There's an active group of Googlers working on ground right now inside of the sort of larger Googler organization, and it's making good progress. We know that there's, Gino's on the team, and he's not here right now because he's just had a baby, but he's got at least 3 or 4 different organizations that are already taking a bet on ground, which we're really excited about. Want to see those make progress. Progress is going to be made while Gino's on parental leave. There's other folks carrying the torch forward. And if anybody has questions about ground, I'm happy to sort of follow up, during the session or offline as well.
For anyone who's not sure what we're talking about here, by the way, Ground is our project to build mobile tools for data collection in the field and bring that data back to your work.
We got another question in the wild here. I see you searching for me. Karen, I'm over here.
Okay. And then after this one, maybe I'll do one of the online questions before we go through the more in person. Go ahead.
My name is Vivian. I'm from the Stockholm Environment Institute. Hey, KTH, nice to see you here. And my question is more related to Rebecca's first presentation, what was amazing. And when we think about deforestation, it's such a difficult thing, because it's not only about how we can approach private initiatives, but it's also a little bit about governments, about politics, about how they take measures to prevent this type of thing. So when I see Google, and I see Google as such a strong enabler of people, so how can really approach this type of thing, I'm also very curious to know how Google is actually creating this strategy about having more connections or having more partnerships in different countries, and how you guys can measure the impact of that. So, for example, for some supply chains like Indonesia palm oil right now, we can see a reduction of deforestation, and it's brilliant. But how can we continue to do that? How to detect the ones that we should actually enable to keep the transformation alive?
Did you crisply get that? Because I was having a little trouble totally getting it.
Do you want to paraphrase?
Yes, paraphrase.
I think you're asking about it. You're acknowledging that Google is has a lot of influence. You're asking how do we make sure we're using that influence most effectively, targeting them and measuring our impact, specifically on sustainable supply chain.
Perfect.
It's a big question.
Yeah.
It's just like...
How do we use, so we do have an influence because we're Google, we have incredible capabilities, right, that we can contribute. And, you know, we think of ourselves as this small, scrappy team, but in reality, you know, when we create these technologies and these data sets and put them out there, it can become like a de facto standard. It can become, right, something that many people use. So we try to be very deeply thoughtful about it. But everything we're doing in these complex policy spaces, we never do it alone, because we are not the experts in what are the political issues, what are the technical issues, what are the data gaps, what, you know, often we're technologists, we love technology, but it's only a small piece of solving these problems, right? And you have to have all the ingredients, including expert people on the ground and people that, again, understand, you know, what are the barriers? And maybe it's not the lack of data. Maybe you could have the greatest data in the world, but if the political will is not there, you're wasting your time, right? So we always try to partner with very knowledgeable and in many cases local organizations and try to come in very humbly, which you might not think Google is capable of doing, but we're actually capable of coming in and saying, look, we're here, you know, how can we help? And not come in assuming that we know exactly how to solve these problems. But, you know, I'm going on too long here, but this is why we love working with you guys, because you know, many of you know, like, this isn't the data we need, this is the data we need. And we not only need this data, but XYZ, XYZ. There needs to be funding to this scientist. There needs to be capacity development of this community. And so it becomes, how do we put the whole thing together so all those pieces that take you to that North Star goal that can be achieved. And it takes time and patience and so on, but you know, we're in this for the long haul.
Definitely.
Does that answer your question at all?
Completely, and I think like mine is more a provocation than a question about how we can keep these good transformations alive and how we can capture this type of thing. So, and Geoffrey, good, this time that I'm here, I'm really looking forward to see people that are understanding what is working and how we can keep it, the ball rolling.
If I could say one more thing, which is, you know, in the beginning we were sort of like, oh, we've got the answers. And, you know, we don't, right? And so it's not about us coming in and being like, here's what should happen. It's all about, like, how can we help all of you figure out what should happen and, you know, be able to right, we've talked about this, so.
Okay, thank you, Vivian. So I'm going to ask a question, and this is from online, and then we're going to get to our 5 people in line here. So we're going to give short answers.
Okay, I'm not.
Okay,
It's not possible.
This one's I know is a short answer, and I think whoever speaks up first will get it. But it's from Giulio Marsci, and he says Earth Engine is great for analysis as Google Earth is for visualization. Any chance to see 3D visualization in Earth Engine, or the possibility to show Earth Engine results in Google Earth?
Yeah, great.
Softball.
Thank you for your question. So I will say that we have the ability to export Earth Engine maps. If you just use the export system and export to cloud, then you can actually use those with the tile overlay feature in Earth to visualize Earth Engine in Earth. As for the other way around, that's a great request. We've thought about it for a while, and we'll continue to investigate.
Yeah, and I just want to plug Justin and Christian's course later, where you're going to learn about that technique. All right, Ujjwal.
Hello, I'm Ujjwal Gandhi from Spatial Thoughts. I have a question for the Earth Engine team. I work a lot with open source tools and open source community. There's a lot of traction around STAC and cloud optimized GeoTIFF and the tooling around using that. It's great to hear the Earth Engine catalog is available as STAC, but it's not the full catalog. There's no items there. I want to understand what are the plans to make the full catalog available as a STAC catalog and also make it interoperable with other systems by backing it up with the cloud optimized GeoTIFF files.
Yeah, thank you for your question, and I think we definitely agree that those open standards, COG and STAC, we've seen have huge impact in the open source community, and so that's why we've been supporting them as best we can. Shout out to Simon and Kurt and the other folks on the data team for their work on those over the years. Specifically for your question around STAC items, that is something that we are scoping out now because we know that it's kind of, I don't want to say low-hanging fruit, but a important next step in our STAC support. So yes.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your talk. It's been really, really insightful. So since we already talked about, by the way, I'm Shayan Chaudhary. I'm currently an undergraduate student at Columbia University. So since we talked a little bit about the policy implications of Google Earth, I was curious about specific steps that you guys have taken to make platforms like these more accessible for policymakers. Especially, I recently got the chance to speak to John Kerry, who's currently the climate envoy to President Biden. And we talked a little bit about how we can use predictive analytics to understand migration patterns after specific climate events. So correlating like food insecurity and trying to understand like what kind of responses should be mounted by governments, both local and international, to support the people that are affected by many, many climate events. Recently in Pakistan, there were 33 million people displaced. And so what kind of steps have been taken to work with policymakers and to make these events a little bit less severe? Thank you.
I think I could probably take a first pass, and then maybe there's an Earth connection.
I can try as well.
The Environmental Insights Explorer is focused on that question that you've raised of taking, no, we're not working on migration paths, but really understanding what is the actual question or the action that the policymaker might be able to take, or how can we inform the suite of options that are in front of the policy. So, okay, to use your example, which communities are affected? What would we do about it? What are the impacts of those actions? Should we do that or not? Really that criteria forming and underlying data analysis, and then tracking over time, right? Does that work? Should we do something different? So that's how we're focusing on trying to answer that, but that is applicable across really any new data set and avenue, and there's a great question earlier about storytelling and visualization, right? So there's all of these pieces that are needed, not just, okay, we have this great data set of migration patterns. How do I know I need to care as a policymaker, right? And so I think there are these suite of tools, but it takes organizations on the ground. A lot of that cannot be done, or it can be done. it can't be done by Google, right? It has to be organizations that are using the tools that we can provide to make it into something that's locally relevant for a decision point. And that's where EIE is trying to do that, but Earth is another tool that can be doing that.
Yeah, exactly. I think Google Earth has been used by the public sector for many, many years and still heavily used in the public sector. And that means, people that are implementing policies and policymakers as well to various degrees. I think there are, we have done partnerships with cities and so forth as well that have been using Google Earth in the past, but we're not doing anything targeted on the Earth side specifically right now as it comes to policymakers and using Google Earth. I don't know if there are any other...
if Karen will let me speak.
Last one, and then we'll go to the next.
I don't know if this is exactly what you're asking, but we know that policymakers are often very, very busy. And if you hand them a 400-page document with charts and graphs, they're not going to read it. And many of the NGOs that we work with have said, going in and showing them in a few seconds, a visualization in Google Earth changes their minds on issues. So Appalachian Voices has used this to outlaw mountaintop removal coal mining. Dr. Jane Goodall used this to work with the government of Tanzania to disallow logging in steep slopes, because you could see in seconds what the issue was in the imagery. So again, I don't know if that's what you're asking, but as we're working on this more professionalized version of our modern Earth tool, I think you're going to see it be even more effective in these types of settings.
Yeah. No, that's great to hear they making things more accessible and in a storytelling manner that actually resonates with policymakers and just general lay people. So thank you so much.
Seeing is believing, right?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good morning, I'm Alta de Voets from Rhodes University in South Africa. My question, I think, is for Rebecca. You spoke a lot about sort of impact at scale, but of course in a complex world that really requires actions across scales, and you spoke about bridges in this community. So what I'd like to know is, what are some of the maybe missing links and bridges that you'd like to see more of, both maybe within the products, or your products, and within this broader community, this Do for Good community?
Ooh. So I think, and Patrik, you may want to speak to this too, but if we take something like Google Earth, well, take Earth Engine, a lot of people are doing, massive, decadal, global analysis with Earth Engine. You look at Earth, people are doing local action, right? Because you've put the planet in their hands, you've let them annotate it, you can bring people virtually to understand an issue, you can use it for managing and planning field work and interventions you may want to do, for mapping out solutions and so on. And so I think one of the things we're envisioning for this, next generation of Earth that is really suited for these type of applications is figuring out how to bring and connect all these local and regional actions, these people doing these things all over. It may be thousands, it may be tens of thousands of projects who can learn from one another, right, and share best practices. We haven't figured that out. Maybe you and the trainer network could help us figure that out.
Sure. Thank you. Okay, I know we have 3 additional people who joined the line, and we're going to try to get to you guys, but I see a time limit of about 3 minutes left, so we might not.
Don't let me answer any questions.
But we're going to have lots of time to mingle later. But let's have the next question.
Good morning. My name is Whitney Spearing. I'm an archaeologist and forensic researcher from Williams Lake, BC, which is in Canada. My primary focus right now is working with the community to identify missing and deceased children who are students of the residential school system in Canada. So one of our huge hurdles is being able to integrate historic data, ortho imagery, satellite imagery that was collected very, very early days, with more modern imagery like LiDAR, magnetometry, and things like that. So I'm wondering if there are tools that are in use or in development that would enable us to do proper visualization, sort of like an onion, so we can properly identify areas to look forensically.
Yeah, thank you for doing that work. In the Earth Engine data catalog, we do have historical data sets, for example, Landsat, that go back to the 70s So there are, historical data sets within the catalog already. If you're asking about sort of specific high-resolution imagery that will be interesting for your work, I would love to hear about that so that we can, target getting specific data sets that would be useful for you. And,
I can also just add on the Google Earth side that we do have that catalog available in Google Earth Pro as well. So you can actually use the time slider in Earth Pro to go back and view that historical corpus in Earth Pro. And as you saw in the Earth talk, we also did a sneak peek of some of the GLTR 3D support that we're working on the Earth side that would enable things like LiDAR collects as well down the road.
For sure. I think it's too about, like we've used the slider and we can go back as far as the 70s, but where we have like ortho imagery that was collected in the 20s or the early 1800s, whether or not we can actually integrate that into, like it's not satellite based, but LiDAR obviously is, et cetera.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think we're generally working on better import capabilities to visualize both orthos and 3D models in new versions of Earth. So that's something that we're looking at closely.
Awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so we have time for one more. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get the hooks very soon, I can tell. So guys, remember your questions. You can put them on the Q&A or just come talk to me and I'll direct you to the right person. Okay, sound good? Thank you. Sorry we didn't get to everybody. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Mayumi. I'm from Quapá and Mapbiomas, Brazil. And I listened to all of you, especially the Environmental Insights Explorer, which I'm very interested in. And I learned all about the lessons, patient and grow the community and so on. But I can't avoid being a little bit curious about what are the next, what are you thinking right now? Is it to expand the cities that you have data on? Is it expand the kind of data that you have? I know that we have to, you told us that you are working on getting to the policymakers and making them listen to things that we have to say. But is there any specific directions that you are working right now?
Yep. So, I mean, the quick answer is yes, all of the above. But our current data on buildings and transport is pretty much at the scale that we think we can get to. But now we need to make it more actionable. We really want to drive the simplicity of the answers that get to action plans. So for buildings and transport, we're working on deeper solutions within each that are focused on decarbonization, VMT reductions, electrification. But we're also working on new data sets. So in the EIE labs, we have tree canopy, and Marissa mentioned that as well, that we're looking to launch and expand to global cities. And we've had an air quality instance that Karen's actually been deeply involved in that we'd love to expand also to global cities as a real catalyst and accelerant to climate action. But we're looking at, where are cities, like constantly talking with cities, what do they need? What are they trying to do that they feel blocked from an information perspective that we can provide something unique to unlock that action. So if you have ideas, I would love to chat with you afterwards and talk about that more.
Thank you. Thank you all for your questions. You guys probably all have questions, even though you didn't stand up. So if you do have any questions for these guys or any other Googler, please don't feel shy. Just go up to them during lunch and the breaks, and we're all here to answer your questions. So thank you guys for being here. Please join me in thanking the panel.